Power Rankings, November 3rd. Let's do the damn thing. This is about 2 weeks into the season. You ready?
Yes, sir.
All right, disclaimer for everybody who's watching. We're not confident with these rankings.
We need to
Listen, it's like 4 or 5 games in. We went back and forth like, should this team even be in? Why is this team in the top 5? We rearranged everything. This is what we came to. Leave a comment, drop a comment, let us know what you think. Let us know where you think we're wrong, because I know we're gonna get a lot of people who are like, what? What is this?
There's gonna be a lot wrong here, but people need to understand. Me and Josh were going back and forth for what felt like an hour through text messages, trying to figure out these rankings, and we're really technically not happy about a lot of this. So
no, we're not confident. We're not confident at all.
Again, this is why I say it should be the dime power rankings with a question mark at
right. I don't know if power is the right word to describe our rankings. I don't think we should be called power rankings.
Like, it shouldn't be called power rankings. You
no,
and we're only doing top 10, so that's also the big thing. It's only top 10, so that makes it really hard.
Yeah, so just join, just have fun with us. Just have a good time. All right, this is not like serious. We're not here to debate you. But if you want to debate, you can. Just drop a comment. Who cares? Let's do this. Now, coming at number 10, we got the Atlanta Hawks. Shout out to the Hawks. They're 3-2 on a 3-game winning streak. Wins against the Bucks, the T-Wolves, and they won an open run against the Wizards. It was
Don't talk about my Wizards like that, bro.
The reason why
I can't wait till Jordan Poole and Kuzma turn the corner, y'all.
Bro, please,
it's gonna happen.
All Wizards games are played on concrete in the playground. Like, that's how I look at it. That's what it is. It just is what it is. But the Hawks, the reason why they get in, first of all, they're third in the East right now. The East is just struggling as a whole. I mean, a 3-2 team is in third right now. But also, they've had moments where it's like, oh my God. Like, you can see the ceiling with this team when they get out and run. They're running the basket. Like, they're finally getting out and running. They weren't doing that last year. Jalen Johnson's having a little bit of a breakout season. He started off really strong. Slow down just a little bit. He's going back to the bench, but he's having a great season. Trae started out slow, but now he's kind of turning the corner a little bit. DeJounte Murray embarrassed Anthony Edwards in the second half against the Timberwolves. So they have the squad. We've talked about this all the time with the Hawks. Like, for some reason, they have all the pieces, but it seems like they don't have all the pieces. But they're playing better defense. They're getting out and they're running in transition, which is what I think they need to do to be successful. And because of that, they're tied for fourth in offensive rating with 117.4 points per 100 possessions. Kwab, your thoughts on the Hawks? How did we even – they weren't even like – we weren't even talking about them like the last 30 seconds.
They snuck in at the last minute. Yeah. But, I think it really started when and you can attest to this, when they were playing the Knicks and they made that weird run at the end of the game where it looked like they were getting blown out, I think, for most of the game. And they made that run, and they've just been on upward trajectory after that. Like you said, when we always talk about the Hawks, we always say they have everything in terms of they have all-star guards, an all-star guard that can shoot. You have a defensive guard like DeJounte Murray that also plays both ways. You have wings on wings. You have bigs that run the floor, block shots, catch alley-oops. You have shooters. But then they'll lay an egg and you're just so confused. You're like, to me, they're the team that's like the Jekyll and Hyde. I don't know what to expect. Like, I expect them they should be a top team, but then you see them do weird stuff like, oh, what is going on? So we have them at 10 right now just because they're on a streak. So hopefully they keep going in the right direction.
Not hopefully. I don't like the Hawks. I'm a Knicks fan. F. Trae Young. Actually, and for the people who hear the F. Trae Young trans, at this point, it doesn't even mean that. Like, we don't mean F. Trae Young. It's basically just a battle cry. It means absolutely nothing except
you guys just want a villain just because he.
Yeah, I have no anger towards Trae Young. All right, let's move on to number 9. It's the Philadelphia 76ers, a team that's been in the news lately, a team with a lot of drama since the end of last season, have quietly put together a 3-1 record. They beat the Raptors twice. They beat the Portland Trail Blazers. Their only loss was opening night against the Milwaukee Bucks, in which they lost by 1, so it wasn't a bad loss at all in Milwaukee. Tyrese Maxey, ladies and gentlemen.
All-star. Looking like all-star. He's looking like all-star.
1,000%, averaging 27.2 points per game on 50% shooting from 3. That is absurd. That is absurd. Shout out to Tyrese Maxey. Side note for all Knicks fans out there, don't think for 2 seconds that Emmanuel Quickly's not looking at what Tyrese Maxey is doing. He's like, yeah, I could do that. And I'm going to do that for another game.
He's like, that should be me.
Should have extended him. Why didn't you extend him?
Here we go. There we go. Yeah, I forgot about that.
All right, let's talk about the Sixers.
Yeah, forgot about
Maybe
that.
they get some depth with Covington and I was going to say Norman Powell, but they didn't get Norman Powell.
But Terrence Mann.
Who knows? Maybe these ancillary pieces help them out. Who knows? But right now they're looking like they don't really miss Harden. What are your thoughts on the Sixers?
Yeah, they look good. Maxey is playing at a very, very high level. Kelly Oubre has been a great signing for them. He's been playing really, really well for them.
And so has Tobias, man. Tobias feels like he's like the old Tobias so far. Yeah,
I think when you take out such a piece like Harden, it allows everybody else to step up, and they're stepping up right now. So they look like they're a top team in the East. When we talk about tiers, they're like in that second tier that they could be if they get it together, because there's still a couple of things that they do that still affects them, but they look good right now.
Yeah, they look great on offense. They're third in offensive rating, 118.2 points per 100 possessions. So shout out to the Sixers, specifically to Tyrese Maxey. I don't know if he can keep up 50% from three, 48.6% from the floor, but he's definitely in command of that offense right now. And right now, they don't miss James Harden. To me, for them, it's just depth and outside shooting, and if they can defend in the playoffs. So we'll see. I think they'll hang around in the top 10. I don't think the Hawks will be around too much longer, but I think the Sixers are going to hover for a little bit.
Oh, fair enough.
All right, number 8, we got the Los Angeles Clippers in at 3-2. And before the loss last night, I'm not gonna lie, I was gonna fight for them to be like number 4 or 2 or 5. I was like, if they beat the Lakers, they're 4-1. Paul George is looking good. Kawhi's back, even though Kawhi's not playing great, he's playing good enough where I'm like, okay, I'm comfortable with it. They're 4th in offensive rating at 117.4 per 100 possessions. But it's like, okay, they lost to the Lakers. They lost to the Jazz. They had a rough game against the Magic. They came back and won. They're looking good. They're not looking great. And now you have James Harden coming in. And what does that mean? So Kwab, 3-2. We talked about Harden before, but just from a regular season standpoint, do you expect them to raise the ceiling? And do you think that they'll be in this top 10 for, the foreseeable future?
I mean, I think he should be able to raise their ceiling. I just, looking back, like on the Lakers game, it just felt like when it got to the fourth quarter, they were just kind of, it looked like they were trying to figure it out, like a lot of ISO ball, and they weren't moving the ball. Like maybe having a piece like James Harden on the floor, like he can set up the offense in a regular way and get everybody like easier shots. Paul George has been playing out of his mind. Kawhi has been playing out of his mind. Even Russ has been playing really, really well.
Russ has been playing really well. Got to give him credit. He's someone who I've probably bashed more than anyone on this show. So when he's doing well, got to give him credit. True. He's been playing well.
Yeah,
he had a late game blunder against the Lakers. He didn't have a particularly good fourth quarter in there, but
well, that's expected
overall.
Usually expected, but yeah, like, and they still had a chance. Like it was when game went into overtime, they still had a chance, but Paul George ended up fouling out. But yeah, I like him at that. I like him at that number. They will probably end up being higher just because the team right now has on paper has all the talent, but we got it. The game's not played on paper, so we'll see.
No, it's not. It would be awkward if it was played on paper. I'm glad they play on hardwood. All right, going in at number 7, we have the Sacramento Kings.
Beam team.
You know what, Kwab? Go ahead.
We have the Sacramento,
because they're 2-2. Why is Sacramento at 7?
We have the Sacramento Kings Beam team. Right. They're finally here. You know what I mean? It was a struggle. I had to fight for Sacramento like I'm from Sacramento, like I'm from Cali right now with John. I'm trying to get Sacramento in. I'm here like, oh, but they beat this guy. Oh, look, the only team they lost to has been the Warriors.
Twice. And once without the Aaron Fox. So
Fox wasn't there, and they needed Klay Thompson an essential buzzer beater basically to win. Now, I'm not saying that that was the reason, but because the Warriors have looked good all season. I like Sacramento, man. I like their pieces. I like who they have. I just feel like people are really underrating them. You're going to have a really good record at the end of the season. I don't know how it translates in the playoffs, just because matchups matter. But I think they're a really good team, and they're really well coached, and they have a system, and they know what they want to do. So I'm going to be high on Sacramento all year until I'm not.
Until it's time to jump off the bandwagon.
Until I'm not.
I will say something.
Until I'm not.
I will say it's about Sacramento. It's actually going to repeat what you just said, but just kind of hammer it home. Everyone knows their identity. That's what I like about them. They know what they're supposed to do. Keegan Murray knows he's supposed to shoot. Kevin Huerter knows he's supposed to shoot. Malik Monk knows he's supposed to come off the bench and be a bucket. JaVale McGee knows he's supposed to come off the bench and protect the rim and grab boards. Like everyone knows what their role is. They play it well. They're really good at that, and they're well coached. And I think that when you see a team like that, you can't help but think that, okay, they're going to be good for the rest of the year. Like there's not going to be any type of lag this year or a slump this year that they can't handle. So I do think you're right. I do think they're going to have a really good regular season record. I think they're here to stay. Last year wasn't a fluke at all. And you fought hard for the Kings. You are their lawyer. You're their official lawyer. You're going to see on billboards in Sacramento. Those lawyer billboards.
I'm them and the Wizards. It's them and the Wizards right now.
No, we're not. Let's not
the Wizards are letting me down.
No, we're not. I can't do it. I mean, the Heat. You're totally the Heat culture guy, but they're last in the East.
Right? I'm also they're last. Well, that's cool. The Nets beat them, so I was happy about that. So Heat culture, baby.
All right, let's move on to number 6. We have the Los Angeles Lakers in at 3-2. They lost to the Kings, so technically you could have the Kings at 6, but they only have 2 victories. So I think it didn't feel right to kind of put a 2-2 team at 6. Kwab. Keep fighting, Kwab. You're doing a good job. They make it to 7.
Can you just repeat that again, please? I just want to make sure. We just want to get that on record again. Just what you said. I didn't quite hear my.
So the Lakers are 3-2. They're 6.
Yes, check.
Although they have lost to the Kings, who are 7th.
Oh, okay. All right. That makes sense. Let's.
The Kings have played 4 games.
They've lost to Sacramento, who's they've lost to Sacramento, who's below. Okay, just making sure.
Kings are 2-2. We can't have them at the 6th best team. Come on, man.
I'm not saying we.
I mean, I know 3-2 is not so much better. I'm acting like 3-2 is like 5 games better. But listen, the Lakers, they have 2 losses at Denver and at Sacramento. So against 2 playoff teams, against 2 teams that we expect to be in the conversation for the Western Conference at the end of the season. They've beat the Clippers, solid team. The Suns, jury's still out. Just got
depleted Suns team.
Yeah, and they beat the Magic. And LeBron looks. Shout out LeBron James. Like, I can't even like. It's actually getting boring at this point to talk about him because it's always the same thing. Like you can go on any just go to episode 47 of the Dime. You're gonna hear me just be like, yeah, LeBron's getting older, but he's still balling. Like it's the same thing over and over again to the point where it's like I don't even want to say it anymore. But my goodness, the man is like 76 years old and he's playing better than like 98% of the league. It's insane.
They won that Clippers game and they were down a lot of players, like a lot of players that were injured. That will be like playing. That will be or should be playing a lot of minutes for them. That's like Rui. Vanderbilt hasn't played all year, and he was basically their defensive anchor when he got traded there. Good call. And then Prince didn't play, and he's been playing well for them also. But LeBron, that they gotta. I know the big thing has been his minutes. The offseason, everybody was very excited because they were like, oh, they have a lot of pieces that are going to come in, and he shouldn't have to do so much during the regular season. Psych. Psych, I lied. His man is 50, 60 out here just still running, dunking. It's great. It's great. It's good to see, man. Consistency is not easy, and he does it year after year. So you got to enjoy greatness while it's here.
Yeah, seriously. And he has the most minutes played in the fourth quarter, and he has the most points scored in the fourth quarter than anybody in the league right now, which is, again, insane. Like at his age, year 21, just doing that it's ridiculous. And we've never seen anything like this. I mean, I don't want to get into the GOAT conversation because you could always have that conversation. But if he's playing at this high level in the playoffs, which is a huge question because is he going to wear down? How many minutes is he going to play? The Lakers are going to be tough to beat for sure. But right now, they come in at 6. And also, shout out to Anthony Davis after getting embarrassed by Nikola Jokic in the first game. I think he's kind of turned it around and played some great defense specifically, but also has been a force on the offensive end. All right, coming in at number 5 is we didn't want to do this. Just be honest with you. We don't like this team. This
team. Like
this is just strictly based off record because they haven't lost. They're 4-0. It's the Dallas Mavericks, one of 2 undefeated teams. Wins over the Spurs, Nets, Grizzlies, and Bulls. You know, Gauntlet.
Are we counting that Nets win? Oh, yuck.
That Nets win was disgusting. Luka had
It's crazy.
just basically went off at the end, and they still won against the Nets. But they're second in the offensive rating at 121 points per 100 possessions, fourth in effective field goal percentage at 58.6. So they're shooting the basketball well. Kyrie isn't shooting well, but Luka's having an unbelievable year so far, averaging 33.8 points per game, 10.5 rebounds per game, and 9.8 assists per game. So practically a triple double.
Yeah.
He's balling out of his mind, which is weird because the media always loves to hype up Luka, but the hype isn't there right now specifically for Luka. You would think if the Mavericks are 4-0 with the numbers that I just said, that Luka would be everywhere, but he's not. Not yet. We'll see.
Good call.
They're at 5 because I just honestly don't believe they're that great. I could be wrong, but I got to see it. You know, they beat 4 teams that I don't think are going to be in the playoffs. Maybe the Nets, depending on the East, but yeah. They did what they were supposed to do. So you get 5. Solid.
The Nets are definitely going to be in the playoffs. No bias, obviously.
Shout out to Derek Lively. I think the Mavericks have found their center.
You mentioned Kyrie, and he hasn't played the past 2 games, I think, because of an injury. But they've been getting contributions from, like, Grant Williams had a really good game last game, also just shooting. So they had a really good, not stated, but understated, but a really good offseason, picking up a lot of good pieces that have been helping them. So, so like you even mentioned it, like with Luka's having what feels like an MVP type season, and it's not being put on the forefront like usually when it's talked about, just because there's so much going on in the NBA in terms of like these great teams and crazy rookies and stuff. But Luka's having a great year, and they're undefeated now. Now we'll see how it looks as the season progresses. So we just have them right in the middle.
We'll see. I'm just not a fan of them, to be honest with you. But we'll see. All right, coming in at number 4. This is this feels like it's too high. But they've gotten off to a great start. It's the Pelicans, and at 4-1. Their only losses to the Warriors. They're 10th in defensive ratings. They're doing this more on the defensive end, 106.7 points given up per 100 possessions. Wins over the Knicks and Thunder. They haven't really beat anyone too promising, but I think what it is with this, we knew what track they were on last season, right? They were the 1 seed in December. There was kind of like, oh man, the Pels, like, they're a serious team in the Western Conference. And then ish hit the fan and everyone got injured, and it's like, oh man, all right, well, there goes that. Now everyone comes back and they're healthy. They didn't have Brandon Ingram against the Thunder, but you know, Zion's back. He's playing well. I don't think he's playing like great, but he's playing well. And they seem to be healthy, and they seem to be clicking, and they seem to, like, again, they know their roles. Like, there doesn't seem to be any confusion whatsoever. They're a good defensive team, and it feels like that team that was the number 1 seed in the Western Conference last year. And I don't think they're the best team in the West, but I do think, you know, at this pace, like, they could be 3rd, 4th, 5th, depending on how all this shapes up. So, shout out to the Pelicans coming in at number 4. I think it is a little too high. I don't think they'll be this high for long, but just the way that the records have shaped out and our disdain for the Mavericks, this is where they are. Kwab, have you watched the Pelicans at all this year?
And our disdain for the Mavericks. Yeah, I've caught a couple of games of Pelicans. They've looked good. Like I said, I think the main concern with them is just, are they going to stay healthy? Like, it's just the big asterisk that we always worry about this team. When we did the team preview, that was the big thing we talked about. If they're healthy. Even I mean, this last game they just played the Pistons, who aren't, like, they're one of the better
playing
teams.
Better.
Yeah, they're playing better, but they're not one of the better teams in the NBA. But you saw they won, but you look at who didn't play because of injuries or just like rest. Zion didn't play, I don't think. Brandon Ingram is out with injury. Trey Murphy, Jose Alvarado.
Yep.
And
Trae and Jose they're doing this without Trae and Jose. They've been out from the beginning of the season.
Yeah, and I'm trying. There was one more person I'm trying to remember who got hurt early on. But essentially, you have 5 rotation players that are out right now, like, and they're still finding ways to win. So, if they're healthy, they should be one of the better teams in the West, but they have to stay healthy. Yeah. So that's going to be the big if for them going throughout the season.
All right, and at number 3, we have the Golden State Warriors at 4-1. Not going to lie, playing better than I thought they would. We had them at 6 in our first annual power rankings, and I was kind of like, I don't know, but they've been playing well. They have won 4 straight after they lost their home opener, right? They lost to the Suns. I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
Since then, they've beaten the Kings twice, the Kangs, and they've also beaten the Pelicans in New Orleans on a back-to-back. So to me, that's really impressive, especially those are 2 road wins. Last year, they had a hard time winning on the road. That was like the whole bugaboo from them last year and why I didn't like them. But this year it shows, hey, that was like a anomaly, whatever happened last year. Klay Thompson with the game winner, I think, is a very good sign. Steph Curry is, again, we touched on this last time, but playing out of his mind. 31 points per game on 54.3% field goal percentage, 45.3% from 3. I don't know why I'm shocked, but he's playing out of his mind. And they're doing this too. Like Draymond didn't play the first few games. I don't think Wiggins really played that well up until like literally the last game. They're 10th in offensive rating, and this is more important to me. They're 5th in defensive rating, which means the defense is back. Because I think the most underrated part about their whole dynasty was the fact that they were very good defensively. And I was comparing them to what they used to be, and I was like, well, I don't think the Warriors are what they used to be because Clay's not what he used to be on the defensive end. It's not so much the offensive end. It's like, well, I'm not going to say Klay Thompson on the defensive end, but they're figuring out a way how to stop teams on defense. And they've had 3 really impressive wins, 2 against the Kings and 1 against the Pelicans. So shout out to the Warriors, 4-1, man. They just won't go away. They won't go away.
They're never going to go away. I don't think they're ever going to go away. I think the first game they lost, Draymond didn't play because of injury. That would have made a big difference. I feel like just looking at the team overall, they just have different players that, especially that coming off the bench and just help with Kuminga, Gary Payton, the third, Chris Paul, obviously, who is a starting point guard on any other team.
Yeah,
and they look like they might. I don't want to say they could come out of the West because the West is tough, but like they look like they have a strong possibility of being one of them teams, man. You never know. At the end of the year, it could.
But yeah, but I mean, they're the Warriors, man. At the end of the day, it's like if Steph gets hot and Dre's doing Dre things and Clay's like hitting his shot, it's like, all right, they have a chance. I mean, I'm not going to pick them, but if they won the West, if you told me today they won the West, I'd be like, okay, like it's the Warriors. I'm not going to be shocked.
The worst. It's hard to be. To me, it's always. I always say it's hard to beat them in 7. Like in a 7-game series. You're one of those teams that are hard to beat in a 7-game series, and you even have young players like I forgot the other guy, Moses Moody, that's playing well. Like to just have different pieces that are stepping in, so they look good right now. And yeah, I feel like they have a chance of coming out the West.
All right, and at number 2, dropping down 1 spot, it's the Denver Nuggets at 4-1.
Boom.
They're only dropping down just for the record is because they lost to the T-Wolves, and so there's another team above them that's undefeated and looks absolutely phenomenal. So this isn't like so much a demotion because we think they're bad or because we think they're or anything. It's just all right. We kind of have to do it. It's if there was a 1A, 1B, I think we would do that as well. I have nothing bad to say about the Denver Nuggets. Sometimes you go on the road and you lose. And I think that's what happened against a motivated team. They're going to get everyone's best shot. They're the defending champions. But right now they're 9th in offensive rating, 7th in defensive rating, so top 10 on both sides of the ball. Jokic is still Jokic. Aaron Gordon has got off to a really nice start to this season. They all kind of have. So I'm not worried. You're going to catch L's in this league. No one's going 73-9 again. It's just not happening, especially with rest and all that. So not worried about the Nuggets. They're only in at number 2 just because our number 1 team has been playing out of its mind. But Nuggets coming in at number 2 because our number 1 team is the Boston Celtics. They look absolutely ridiculous, like absurd. They're first in offensive rating, 7th in defensive rating. They're first in net rating. They're outscoring teams by 21.1 points per 100 possessions. Like they're a good offensive rebounding team. Their starting lineup is the best lineup in the league. They're outscoring everybody. I think they're rated the highest in the league. Jayson Tatum averaging 30 points per game, 9 rebounds per game, 4 assists per game. Kristaps Porzingis has fit in beautifully, pick and pop, adding an extra element. Absolutely killed the Knicks opening night, has done a great job going forward. The bench is not playing as well as you would expect, but outside of that, that's probably the only negative thing I could say about this team. They are absolutely killing teams. They're embarrassing teams. They just put up 276 points against the Pacers. They beat the Wizards by 97. They right now are looking like, I wouldn't say an unstoppable force, but they are the best team. They have played the best in this week and a half, 2 weeks of the regular season. So it's scary hours, man. It's scary hours in Boston. I hate it.
That's a curse. That's a curse phrase. If you're a Nets fan, scary hours. The little pushback I'll give when it comes to the Celtics, they've looked amazing. Have they played anyone that's really like?
How dare you?
Have they like?
How
have they played a like? Let's really assess it. Right, the Knicks game. What was? I think that was probably the toughest game. It feels
they
like.
almost lost that game. The Knicks had like a 7-point lead with like 4 minutes left. They could have easily lost that game. But at the Garden,
that Knicks was probably a tough thing. At the Garden. Right.
At the Garden, opening night against a team. We would say whatever you want about the Knicks. The Knicks are a playoff team. So against a playoff team on the road, opening night in one of the more hostile environments in the NBA. Down in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, so
they played like the better team for 95% of that game, if I'm being honest with you. I'm a Knicks fan. But yeah, I get your point. So it's like they don't have, like the Warriors, for instance, they beat the Kings twice and they beat the Pelicans. It's like those are 3 impressive wins. Whereas the Celtics, it's really just the Knicks. And then, the
Knicks. I think they beat the Heat.
They beat the Heat. They beat the Wizards at a public school playground. And then they beat the Pacers.
The Heat, you gonna stop the Wizards hate.
Bro.
You gonna stop the Wizards hate.
The Wizards play like a backyard basketball team. You remember Backyard Basketball, the franchise? Pablo Sanchez and them. That's how they play, bro.
Yeah,
and then they beat the Pacers. They beat the Pacers without Tyrese Halliburton.
Yeah, which is a big caveat. So yes, this is not saying they're not great. They are clearly. They just look like everybody else is playing for second when it comes to the East right now.
Yeah,
which is crazy because I personally thought the Bucks would be better, and they haven't looked great at all in comparison.
So
and that's a whole other conversation.
No, we can talk about that. So those are our power rankings before we leave. Bucks, Suns, Thunder. Those are 3 teams that we had up. Like, hey, these should be in the rankings, and we didn't put them in. But the Bucks, I said, and this is not me like patting myself on the back, but I kind of expected a slow start, but not this slow. It's a weird slow because it's like you're really getting your asses kicked though. Like they're not losing close games at the end trying to figure it out. It's like, y'all are getting killed. This isn't good.
I mean, yes, there's only like a couple of games, but it's kind of surprising with the talent.
Yeah.
With the talent that they have. You don't expect to see a team that has Dame and has Giannis to be like getting killed. So that's been like a big like antenna. Your antenna's going off like, what's happening here? But like you can pat yourself on the back. You did mention all that they might have a slow start just because it's a new coach. You're integrating new players. You're losing your defensive anchor, one of your defensive anchors in Jrue Holiday. So now it's a different system. So they have to go and figure it out. It's surprising, but it's just surprising to see how they've been losing.
Yeah, it just looks really bad. Dame had a terrible second game after having a phenomenal first game to open up the season. Defensively, teams are putting him in a high pick and roll, and he's just dying on screens, bro. It's a problem.
Dying on the screen,
yeah. So I mean, I haven't watched too many Bucks basketball. I've seen clips like breakdowns and things of that nature. So that's the vibe that I'm getting. So I'm going to make it a point to watch more Bucks games this week so I can kind of dissect it more. But seeing them get blown out against it's one thing to get blown out against the Hawks because even though the Hawks to me aren't a great team, you catch the Hawks on a night and they'll blow anybody out, like literally anybody.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
To get blown out against the Toronto Raptors.
But the Raptors are a weird team. They have like you just
welcome
to 6'8", 6'8" hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're just in hell. Oh, 6'8" guy. Oh my god.
What's happening? Wingspan?
No.
Wingspan? That's too much. That's what happens. Also, I'll say with the Bucks. Also, I expected more. Dame, Giannis, pick and rolls, or just
same.
Just a lot more 2-man game, and it feels like there hasn't been enough with them. Okay. But I guess again, it's early. It's early, so that might change.
It is. We'll see.
The other 2 teams we had were the Suns, and the Thunder.
Yes.
Speaking about the Thunder, I think they'll end up being a top team in the West. You're a fun team to watch. I think you had your coach as the pick for the coach of the year.
Yeah.
If I'm right. Yeah. So I feel like they'll be fine. They had a couple of losses, but to me, the games I've watched, they look good.
They just haven't had an impressive victory. That's why I took out of my top 10. Like I went with the Hawks because the Hawks smashed the Bucks and they beat the T-Wolves, which is a decent team too.
Smashed.
Whereas like the Thunder didn't really. They haven't beat anyone where I'm like, oh. And the 2 games they lost were against opponents who, like, if they did beat, I'd be like, okay. But they didn't really do anything to impress me too much.
Real quick mention, talking about the Thunder, John Hollinger, don't call Josh Giddey the slob wizard. That's a wild ass phrase, buddy. Like, I know, just say sideline out of bounds. Just say sideline out of bounds, man. That is crazy.
He's calling him the slob
wild. There's like he's a slob wizard talking about because he's a sideline out of bounds.
I know slob
is. He makes great. Yeah, so but like don't and so like now he has people in the crowd call him the slob wizard. He's like, and Giddey's like, please don't let this catch on. It's too late. It's gonna catch on. That's how the internet works. So slob wizard Josh Giddey, please stop.
That's
please
disgusting.
Stop it. But
John knows he has to know what he's doing. But he has to know what he's doing. There's no way you don't know what you're doing.
I can't believe you called it, but yeah, go. And you said and the Suns, who just lost to the Spurs again,
twice,
which is like again.
It's like what do we make of that? Because I don't think the Spurs are going to win a championship. I don't even know if they'll make the playoffs. It might be a play-in team. So it's maybe not a bad thing, but it's not a good thing, right? I mean, you're supposed to be better than this team, so they can't come in to your house and beat you twice. I know you didn't have Devin Booker and Bradley Beal the first game, but you had Devin Booker the second game, coming off of a loss that was like just heartbreaking. So you figured you'd come back with some vengeance, and it just didn't work out that way. The Spurs dominated most of the game. The Suns with a late comeback, but it fell short. You can't. I mean, honestly, we might have to put the Spurs over the Suns. Like even the fact that we had the Suns over the Spurs is kind of ridiculous, right? If we're doing power rankings, wouldn't we have to put the Spurs over them? I mean, they beat them twice. They have a better record.
They beat them twice.
So it's weird because
Wemby looked ridiculous this game. So
yeah, so it's the Heat, the Bucks, the Suns, the Knicks, all out of our rankings, man. We just completely new top 10. I don't think the Sixers. Yeah, it's interesting. The first week and a half, first 2 weeks have been really interesting. But those are our rankings. Make sure you comment. Let us know what you think. Also, take it easy. Listen, I'm not going to defend these rankings. Like, if you just come in, how do you have the Pelicans fourth? I don't understand. My reaction is going to be, bro, my guess is tune in next week.
This is the emoji you're going to get from us. This is the emoji we're going to send right back to you, buddy. Hey, man, sorry.
You're right.
That's what we're going to send you, man. Hey, we'll see you next week. That's all.
Next week. We'll see you next week. Just drop a comment. We might show it. All that good stuff. Listen, you can follow Dime at the Dime NBA on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We love getting our listeners involved. So if you comment, we will be shown on the next show, as you've seen in previous episodes. We like to have a good time. We want to get you involved as much as possible. I'm Josh Rodriguez at Josh_Rodriguez_ on all social media. He's Kwab at Kwab, aka Yes. We'll see you in a few days for another episode of the Dime